Welcome to the Success Revenue Podcast, the only podcast in the Middle East that brings you leaders in customer success, account management, sales, and go to market to share ideas, perspectives, and valuable learnings on how to successfully drive revenue, delight customers, and take it to the next level.
We are your hosts. I'm Haid Al-Saad, CEO of RepSetter, the modern customer management platform. And with me, I have my amazing co-host, Ivy Ferrero, CS advisor, keynote speaker, and executive. And we couldn't be more excited to bring you a long list of amazing guests during this season of the Success Revenue Podcast every week. Today, we have a guest that I'm really, really excited to bring on to today's podcast. He's someone that I've spent a lot of time with recently and will bring us with 25 plus years of experience in the FinTech and payment space across global markets. And in this episode, we'll deep dive into several topics, including the concept of save now, buy later, which is a new and modern concept to payments. We'll speak about the way to think about the full revenue journey from sales to customer success and how that is all aligned. And we'll also speak about some of the new and modern technologies emerging, whether that's in AI, in climate tech, fintech, and beyond. So very excited for today's episode, and we'll have a lot of takeaways for you guys. Ivy, how's it going? Things have been moving really quickly this year, I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like things have been moving really quickly, with the exception of Ramadan. Now it feels like some decisions are delayed by Ramadan.
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah, exactly. The last week here of Ramadan and Eid, obviously next week here, as we're recording it today. So I'm sure people will hopefully be kind of winding down, taking Eid and some time off, and then be back and ready to go here as we get into April.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely it's your first Ramadan in Dubai.
It's the first one in Dubai, and I'd say I haven't noticed it too much. Right, you see a little bit less traffic, less people out, obviously during the day, which makes sense. A little bit slower, obviously business wise. Kind of reminds me of how it is working in Europe, and you have the July, August, summer months where they're really slow in terms of people are taking a vacation or doing other things. So a little bit of that kind of vibe, but it's interesting. I get emails from our customers or partners at like midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. People are always up a lot during the night and are kind of taking more time to wind down during the day. So that's been an interesting dynamic here for the last few weeks.
Yeah, and it's interesting that a lot of companies take this as an opportunity to create deeper relationships with their customers by hosting like iftars and whatnot. And
Mhm.
yeah, I felt that's also very special. It's a good way to continue creating a relationship during the time that things do generally do slow down.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's a lot more of that, which is cool. And Ramadan is a very family-oriented time of the year, right? You're kind of fasting, and then you're breaking the fast together as a family, as a community, and it has a lot of those aspects, which is really cool. And obviously, it's a beautiful concept in terms of why Ramadan and why fasting and understanding that compassion for people. So I think it's a very cool time of the year and a very kind of community-oriented time of the year. So definitely try and take advantage of that. I think is a good thing, and lean into that community aspect, which again last week here for that, and we'll have Eid, and then I think we'll get back to the normal hustle and bustle of the Middle East and everything we got going on here
Yeah.
come April.
Yeah, I'm excited about today's guest because he's done the whole journey from operationals to founder, and I'm really excited to hear what he has to say in regards to how customer success is growing or how fintech it's growing. I know most of his experience is in fintech, and it's always very exciting for people to explain how much things have actually grown and where things can actually go. There seems to be a lot of
Yeah.
potential in the Middle East. So yeah, I can't wait to listen to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Same here. So what do you think? Should we bring him on and get going today?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Welcome everyone to today's episode of the Success Story podcast. We're super excited to have today's guest on, Mario. I'm very excited about the conversation. I know Mario, we've met a few times before, and he's a commercial and operational leader with 25 plus years of experience driving transformational growth and innovation with a strong focus specifically on the fintech and payment space. And what's exciting is Mario's both worked in startups and scale ups, as well as in blue chip companies worldwide with a really global presence. Mario is currently based in Dubai since a few years back, and he's the co-founder of Twig Finance, which is a B2B to C startup focused on introducing the save now, buy later concept that we'll dig into a little bit, helping merchants who sell really kind of expensive and aspirational items grow their businesses. So, Mario, very excited to speak to you today. Welcome to the podcast.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you very much for having me.
Amazing, amazing. And we're really excited to get into a conversation today. I think we'll hit on a lot of things around customer success, fintech, payments, and so on and so forth. But Mario, why don't we get started kind of really easy? Give us a little bit more about your background, your really extensive background, global background. Tell us more about yourself, your background, your domain, and we'll start off there.
Absolutely. So I am Greek by birth and origin and schooling. I left Greece when I finished school to go and study in Canada, in Montreal. I completely fell in love with the country and the kind of opportunities that it gave me. So I became Canadian and stayed for 15 years, all out of Montreal, and started my career there. I looked into moving to Singapore, so I did my MBA at INSEAD in Singapore. Now, the year was 2003. There was one other virus around, not, of course, COVID, but called SARS. And that prevented me from staying in Singapore. Singapore was impacted heavily. So I decided to move in London for a short period of time, not expecting, not planning that I would actually spend the longest period of my life in one place in London and become British in the process. I stayed for nearly 20 years. And for the last 2.5 years, I'm moved into the Middle East, first Bahrain, and now out of Dubai. I have a background and a focus in change management and driving growth, transformational growth, either because of a crisis or because of positive, let's say, reasons and intent across services. This is the area that I have focused in since 2004. I have specifically focused on payments in the domain of payments. And for the last 6 years, specifically in fintech, scale ups, and right now a startup. So that's a little bit of my background.
That's amazing. You're definitely a global citizen, which we like to hear. You know, as you know, both Ivy and myself have moved around a lot in our lives and lived in different countries, and yeah, probably feel that we have a lot of different homes, so we can definitely relate to your experience. And yeah, it's always cool when you get to a place where you don't expect to be for a long time, and then you end up, you know, spending 20 years there all of a sudden. So that's very cool. And Mario, kind of tell us a little more about, so your journey has really led you to, you mentioned at the end, your current startup where you're co-founder of Twig Finance, which I think is a really cool company and the concept in terms of what you guys are trying to do and how you do it. Tell us a little more about your current company and a little bit what you guys do there.
Absolutely. We love responsible spending. We think that the concept of responsible spending is important in terms of empowering people, empowering businesses, empowering well being, even in society as an impact. We love helping consumers to actually spend the money they have, not the money they would like to have. And we love actually enabling merchants to grow their business and in a healthy way. We've brought these elements together under the tagline of Save Now, Buy Later, which is what we have named our solution. We aim at actually solving challenges that merchants have. First of all, merchants that sell expensive and aspirational items. What are expensive or aspirational items? These are things like very expensive designer furniture. These are things like specialty sports, your golf clubs, or your, um, you know, fancy bike, or your pair of skis. But also services like plastic surgery or travel experiences. These are expensive items for which consumers in general, apart from the ultra high net worth, they will hesitate either because they may have affordability issues, so they dream and they aspire to them, or because they have liquidity issues and they're not certain about committing to buying right now. For merchants, this is a serious problem. One out of three consumers, and this is what merchants have been telling us across many different markets, they will visit the website without actually transacting, or they will go on premises and actually leave the shop floor without actually committing to buying something. That's a major issue because in most cases, these consumers defer the decision making, and either they may go to a different merchant, a competitor, or they may simply, when the time comes, use the money they have to buy something else. So for merchants, how can you actually lock in more of your business in a cost effective way? Today, what do? During sales time, you pick up a few things, discount them at 56, 70%, but that's what everybody else is doing. That's not a efficient way of acquiring business. We help merchants offer these customers a way of paying that is based on saving, not on borrowing, meaning that customers can actually pay in installments or save directly with a merchant, and at the end of the last installment, they can get the goods. Because these goods, in most cases, you don't need them right now. If I want to take my family to Japan in October, I don't need to buy it right now. So I can buy it in installments. And the same applies to the other examples. Now, what is great about it, the merchant also can incentivize and motivate this behavior and say, if you select this option, then I'll give you a 10% because they have locked in this transaction. They get the first payment right away, so it's straight into their books, and the rest come in on a monthly basis. This is the basic premise on which we help also merchants build a rapport over this period of time with their customers, this period of saving or paying installments, and actually also cross sell and create a higher lifetime value out of these customers. This is a little bit the idea that we're doing. We are the concept. We are testing it right now across three regions in Europe, in the Middle East, in GCC specifically, and in Southeast Asia. It's we believe that consumer societies that have aspirations, that have actually a tendency to spend, would be inkling or would be interested into using solutions that they can afford, that they can help them with their financial planning, that it's not just borrowing. Because borrowing, for a lot of people, is not a solution. Either they don't have access to it, or they've already borrowed as much as they can or as much as they should. So the idea is not that savings is good, borrowing is bad. The idea is responsible spending, where you use a mix of tools and approaches that reflect best what is your financial state.
Wow, Mario. I love the whole concept of responsible spending. And I like the save now. What is it? Is it save now,
Later.
buy later, instead of buy now and pay later? Because I feel like the other way around, I feel like you're constantly owning things. And I think the other system, I don't want to shame people that borrow money because I've been in the situation that I've used all of these other systems that you can pay as you go and you get the item now. But I feel that that systems, in a way, it's set up to make people always be in debt.
Exactly. And if you're not careful, and it's very easy, we have so many examples globally about how people actually handle debt and how the consumer behavior and the impulsive behavior behind getting into debt can be so strong that you can find yourself in quite a lot of trouble. I've seen this from card payments. I've seen it from open banking. I've seen it from other solutions where if you are, would say, financially savvy person, you benefit from all of them. I want to buy this, or I want to buy this. I want convenience. I want speed, but that's of a lower value. I can borrow and I can repay. I want to buy something expensive. If I'm not careful, I can actually do, let's say, damage to my financial standing, and that can have consequences.
Yeah. Yeah. And Mario, I think what you're doing truly is also educating people on how to actually afford things that they do really want, but they don't have the money right now. I love it. It's a beautiful concept.
No, what I want to say is also what's exciting is that we are starting at the most, let's say, high segment, which is luxury and things that are highly aspirations. But the definition of aspiration actually changes from country to country, from um, consumer segment to consumer segment. So in different countries, an aspiration can be finally have a certain financial standing. I finally start having income and I want to improve my family's life, and I want to get, for example, my first washing machine or a great TV. Merchants, if we help them reach out to these consumers, which today they have difficulty, and help them, enable them, offer actually better terms, this is great approach or great solution for the merchants to grow the business and for the consumers to maximize what they can actually aspire to and get.
I love this. I love this, Mario, because I feel like most people, let's say they're saving up for a washing machine, then something will happen that they'll go and they'll take that money and then, I feel like people are not really good. And this also includes me at saving for items and actually going all the way through and being able to purchase that item just because things do come up from time to time. And Mario, I kind of
Definitely.
wanted to ask you a little bit, like moving now to fintech. You've been in Dubai, you've lived in Bahrain and everything. What are your thoughts on fintech in the fintech space in here in the Middle East region?
I love fintech in the Middle East for a few very specific reasons. It's dynamic, it's growing in specific places, especially if we take countries like the United Arab Emirates, if we take Saudi, if we take Bahrain, Qatar. These are some example of places where we have the proper definition of what we call an ecosystem, a very used and abused term, but it's very specific in these countries because in a very small, even geographical space within a city, like here in Dubai, I live in Dubai for the last couple of years. You have in a very concentrated area all the players um, of the ecosystem. You have the actual entrepreneurs, from the visionaries to the ones that have grown their business. You have the investors, you have the bankers, you have the regulators, you have even the marketeers. We have all in such a small, short, the consultants, all of them are in such a concentrated area that, coupled with the fact that in all of these cities or countries that I have experienced, there is very easy and very effective networking that happens. It's a little bit like little oysters around that are available for people who have the passion and have the inkling to get into fintech to create results. Whatever is the category of the fintech, from the payments to the insurtech, now in very much in crypto, in AI, this you can actually speed the process. I come from a city that is exciting for fintech, being London, but it's a massive place and it's a very different environment. It's great, it can foster the growth, but here in the Middle East, the immediacy and the speed with which things are happening is exciting, actually, and it can definitely provide tangible results.
Beautiful. And Mario, where do you think fintech is evolving?
What is fintech?
Yeah,
Where it's
where do
going?
you think? Yeah, where do you think it's going?
So, fintech in the Middle East, first of all, has focused on creating solutions that I would say in the vast majority of cases take concepts from other regions, adapt them to the reality and the opportunities in this region, and take them live and reap the benefits and grow. Whether these are basic payment solutions to drive online or mobile commerce, whether this is buy now, pay later solutions, whether this is open banking, and this is growing in the other examples that I said. That is exciting. And I think there is, as this space is very much focused on innovation and using the latest technology or the latest thought process available, this first layer of solutions will continue to occur, to be developed, and to be taken out into the market. So that takes uh, care of this first aspect of seeing what's out there, adapting it to what is the opportunity and the reality in this region, and actually taking it successfully live. There is a second layer which is very exciting, and this is pure innovation solution. So this comes from the region actually maturing or getting more experience, the ecosystems being willing to assume certain amount of risk or more risk, and come out with ideas that are actually born here and can be taken first locally, then regionally, and why not internationally. And if I look into what's going on today, and especially what I expect is going to happen in the future, I think given that the ecosystem is so strong, that there's capital, that there is resources, that there is proper and sound regulatory a system or foundation in this area, I expect more and more of this development to take place and see the Middle East, especially the GCC area, as actually a cradle of growth, new and innovative ideas. And that's exciting.
Yeah,
Yes.
that is for sure. And it's interesting as you're talking kind of about that particular point. I'm really thinking about if you look at the nature of our global economy, and if you look at also the Middle East economy, there's a few industries or few pieces that are really the backbones of everything, right? You have the infrastructure and energy, you have technology and all its different forms, and then you have the financial system, right? And those things kind of make everything else go. And as new things are developing and coming out, you can see it in all these different sectors, and fintech and or financial and tech together kind of it's no exception. I was looking at, and I'm kind of curious to hear your thoughts on this. So the other day, I was looking at a company that recently got funding, but really more about their vision and the concept, which was monetizing AI and AI agents, so providing a fintech platform solution to monetize your AI agents as a company that you're selling to others or that you're creating, which is a very new concept, right? And then you have on the crypto side a lot of the new types of crypto technologies coming along, and obviously, the U.S. Now looking to potentially hold crypto in the Federal Reserve, and things of that nature. And there's other kind of pockets where this is happening with energy tech and how to finance massive projects. How do you kind of see that? Because you talk about how things are evolving, but some of these kind of newer, more innovative spaces within the fintech and payments kind of ecosystem. How do you see those developing as it pertains to AI or some of these kind of more large scale projects, crypto and beyond? I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that.
So what's interesting about the area where we live in is that there is what you see out there and publicly available, and what you see under the hood, which is two different things. The truth is that there is a
Yeah,
lot of money. Sometimes this money is hot, and it's looking at ways to be channeled and invested, and actually take advantage of this capital to grow it. And yes, if we are very true to ourselves, in the last probably, I would say, couple of years, definitely post COVID, a lot of money was quickly channeled and invested into AI. Whatever had AI, great tag, you could attract
right.
investment. Um, a lot of it in climate tech, a lot of it in crypto. What's interesting though is that under the hood, under, let's say, the spotlight of what we tend to hear when you talk to people that are in these innovation centers, at least especially here in the UAE, whether it is in Dubai or Abu Dhabi, in DFC or ADGM, you see a lot of companies that are actually already working at the same time as other parts around the world on how can you monetize actually AI? How can you drive solutions that are tangible and not theory, but it's practice and can are revenue focused? How can you drive actually um, solutions in crypto that are in the next generation and not longer focusing on whatever's happening elsewhere and just taking it here? And there's a lot of these interesting examples. The other part that I find very exciting, um, I'm not directly active myself, but it's talking through friends who are, is very much in climate tech, focusing on solutions that need these deep investments, but they're very much in at the forefront of what is available out there from R&D and taking it out and commercializing it. And it's fascinating that it is actually in some of these solutions are actually thought through in this region, developed in this region, and get exported or implemented from this region.
Yeah. No, definitely. There's a lot of innovation going on in the region. And as someone like yourself, like IB, that have a lot of networks in different parts of the world, US, Europe, here, and other places, and you kind of follow along to those conversations, and you're seeing where is the focus and emphasis? And AI is everywhere, really, on a surface level. And like you said, you have that great tag of AI. It's interesting, but as you kind of take it one step below that and look at what is the actual innovation happening, it's really interesting on the fintech side and the climate tech in this region that we're in. It's really high innovation and really large kind of developments happening there from a progress perspective, which is really interesting and cool to see as well. Um, and Mario, like if we shift a little bit gears here, we talked about kind of the industry as a whole, but I'm curious, looking at your experience, right? We've talked about this before. You have long experience, and you've had a lot of different executive roles throughout the years, right? From CRO to chief commercial officer, kind of throughout the revenue journey, and that's led you to today, being a founder as well. And you've kind of taken that experience and that climb with you over many years. What I'm kind of curious, what are some of your main learnings as you move through these different types of executive roles into founder role? What are some of the main learnings that you've had throughout that journey?
So my background, as you said, is very much, and my passion is commercial, the commercial parts of a company end to end. So basically, how do you set up, depending on the size of the company, of course, a commercial structure that comprises pre-sales, sales, customer success, or account management, or any other term you want, the business sides of marketing, the business sides of product definition, commercial operations, and bring it together as a team, as an organization, as a unit that can actually drive results, drive revenue, drive growth, drive profitable growth. And uh, there is actually, in my opinion, a very much a way of thinking it and a way of executing it. There are models out of there that describe or prescribe how you should approach, depending on what kind of space you're in. Like in my case, fintech and software as a service, how you should approach setting a commercial operation and making it successful and getting results, and then how to do it specifically, because this goes from system, from processes, but it very much goes after people and how to actually drive people or a team of people into realizing the potential and getting the best out of them. So this is where I come from, and it's a very, for me, has been a very kind of exciting career, and one that I'm not leaving behind as I'm going for a second time, potentially last one, into startup and founding. I'm saying this because as a founder, you have to keep that uh, aspect very much central into your mind, because as you're creating something new, as you're defining structures, as you're creating the culture of a company, at the end of the day, to be successful, you need to replicate what I described before into a new environment with patience, because you start with no teams. It's you and your founders, and you have to feel comfortable with them, and you have to work well with them and have a solid glue up front, gradually going through the stages of growth and building this environment. So essentially, for me, as part of this transition, I would say a couple of things that have been critical. The one is always remembering that it's starting at a much earlier stage, which can provide a greater return, personal return, whether it is uh, satisfaction from what you're doing, whether it's results or you're bringing down to your financial results. So you're going the same direction, but you're starting from the beginning. The second thing that is critical is moving from an operational role to a founder's role. I believe that if you want, as an entrepreneur, you can work 8 hours per day, 12 hours per day, 24 hours per day, more than 24. You can always find something to do, and some that is urgent and some that needs to be done. What's critical though as a founder is you have to have clarity. You have to be able to structure the output of whatever that is and communicate it properly, which means you have to think it through, develop it through, and inspire whoever is your audience. Is your audience an investor that you need to convince about your concept, take them along, and actually make them feel secure with the money that they will entrust with you? Is this actually a customer? In my case, right now, as a B2B, a merchant that needs to understand a new concept, you need to be able to answer with confidence and with clarity the questions that they will have and make them feel comfortable to be an early adopter and come with you along a journey that is very, very new. You cannot say, hey, I have, 100, a portfolio of 100 cases to show you, because you don't. So as a founder, this kind of clarity and focus on these key elements is fundamental. And as if you are successful in that, then you will go in that journey of building the teams, of building the practices, of taking people around you and getting the best out of them that you do in a operational commercial role.
I love to hear from founders about their journey of being a founder. And I believe I heard once that there was some sort of meeting with like billionaires, and when they were asked what's the one thing that you would say that got you to be so successful, I believe that the number one thing that they said was being focused. But I understand what you're saying, Mario, that without, you can be focused, but if you're focused on the wrong thing, you won't get anywhere. So clarity is so important. And Mario, I know you have so much experience with um, the commercial side of things, so I kind of wanted to ask you a little bit more on this. Given your holistic experience with commercial side of things and the revenue journey in companies, how do you see sales and customer success coming together, especially here in the Middle East?
So I do have actually a very clear opinion on that. I believe that the aspect of sales and customer success being part of one organization, commercial in this case, is critical. I do see very often, especially in younger organizations, but also very much in this region, not silos, but very much a focus that sales is sales, customer success is customer success. At the end of the day, both teams are key and instrumental in terms of driving, retaining, and growing revenues, and doing so in a healthy way. So, the aspect of these two teams understanding what is their role clearly, how to collaborate effectively, and how to drive results together is critical. Now, there's the aspect of togetherness, the aspect of who does what. What I've seen up to now a lot here in the Middle East is very much a focus on these are the targets of the year, and we're going after them in one aspect. So, very much focus on the execution. The other aspect is that, sales are focused on one thing, customer success is on the other thing. We do a handover in the best of cases, and we go in our own ways. The aspect of actually saying, no, if we take revenues, we need to understand revenues end to end. We need to understand who contributes to them, and we need to understand the roles of both of these teams and how they can, working together, optimize the results. To me, it's critical. For example, I have an example of a company I worked here where sales would be responsible for all negotiations, both for new customers and for existing customers. So the customer would be going ping pong back and forth from sales to customer success. This made customer success being a relationship management team. Great people, make you feel absolutely comfortable. But if you were to put down the team and say, how do we actually, if I were to challenge you, say we need to drive double the revenues from our existing base, how would we do it? Versus we need just to do retention and not have dropouts. Then, of course, having the responsibility for understanding of the financial relationship, of being able to do negotiations for existing customers, become natural, right? So that the sales team can keep on growing the pipeline, can work with marketing and get more leads on demand generation and bring more business uh, into the game, and they bring the right ones and pass them over to customer success at an earlier stage, so you can have a proper transition from one team to the other. So these are, I think, examples that in a evolution of our commercial practice in the region will happen, are happening, and I'm positive, but I think there is a path for growth.
Yeah, I love that. Share. Thank you for sharing your perspectives. And Maria, what would you say has been the biggest challenge from going from an operational role to a founder role? And what has been the
Uh,
biggest surprise?
Absolutely. So there have been a little bit of both, to be honest. So first of all, one of the things that I always did when I was in an operation role is that I would work with a team on the now, on the execution, on working through these pipelines, new customers or existing one, the opportunities, helping where I need to help, and help drive the results. At the end of the day, optimizing what the team can deliver, but at the same time, being 3 to 6 months, or 1 to 2 quarters ahead on what is coming up, so you can steer the commercial ship in the right direction, not just focusing on the today or the next week, but also at the same time focusing on the 6 to 18 months further down the road, because that's when you actually focus on strategy, on strategic planning, on doing all the good things that a revenue or commercial leader needs to do, the what ifs, the new directions that you can drive the ship to get more growth, profitability, etc. So one of the interesting learnings for me was that actually it's the same thing you need to do as a founder. Your today may be super urgent, true, but if you stop only at the today, the couple of quarters later are not going to be smooth. So you have to actually retain that ability to work in both levels. But at the same time, if you don't have clarity and if you don't build what comes later, the 6 to 18 months, your investor will not be happy. Forget about yourself not being happy when you realize that you have missed potential or that you're running after things. At the end of the day, a good investor or your board, a good board, would actually have the expectations, a healthy expectation, that as a founder you have clarity on this, and that this is a common understanding and a common direction built from the future to now with your other founders. So that's actually a same aspect. The difference is very much on where do you channel your time and how do you actually focus on a day-to-day basis on what you're doing. In an operational role, you actually have your teams, you have your people, you have and you work with them, you have your infrastructure and you work to optimize it, you work to inspire your teams, you work to push the boundaries and get the results. As a founder, you don't have a team, and you have to feel comfortable about it because that may take time, and it's healthy not to take time. I belong in that kind of commercial leaders, but also founders, that I don't believe in asking an investor for money to go and hire as many FTEs and throw FTEs into a challenge or an issue if it's the other direction. I believe in actually gaining the right to hire people, and that can only happen if you focus in the structure I explained before. So the day-to-day aspect actually is very different. You have to feel comfortable about it, and you have to focus as a founder on operating in a different way.
Yeah, it's so interesting, right? Like as someone that is done that journey a few times before and gone between operational and founder and scaling and exiting and these different things. It's funny. I always kind of liken it to if you're running a business, it's kind of like the world. When you're operational, you're running a country, a region of the world, and that's kind of what your world is and what you see every day and operate within. As a founder, you're running the entire world and you kind of focus on every aspect and have to understand every little bit. Not meaning that you should do everything or focus on everything, but you have to understand how what you're doing on the marketing side relates to the product side, to the enablement, to the commercial, and all these different aspects. And then bringing all that together, both from an operational perspective and a vision perspective. And I think that's where a lot of those differences come into play. Is kind of just your line of sight is just much broader and deeper as a founder has to be successful. So you kind of take on more traits, and you have to really know yourself well. What do you do really well? What do you need to rely on others on? Whereas operational, typically you're the rock star within that specific segment of the business, and you're really good at it, and you can delegate and operate. But as a founder, you get to kind of delve into so many different things, which is challenging but exciting as well. So that definitely agree with you there in terms of day to day shifts quite a bit when you make that transition. Um, and to that point as well, if you kind of think about it from an ideal state, right? And you have a lot of experiences and learnings from this over the years. Do you think operating, and I'm thinking from the customer side in particular, right? We're talking about customer success, sales, those different the ways to kind of structure that. But if we're looking from a customer perspective, um, how do you kind of think about as a founder today, but also previously as a commercial leader, looking at both sides of the business, sales and customers? How do you create that kind of customer centricity and that customer mindset within an organization? Because a lot of times, if you've grown up in sales, your perspective is very sales focused, and leadership might speak from a sales lens only. If you're growing up in customer success, it might be skewed towards that. Not a lot of leaders that have kind of seen both sides of the business, truly seen both sides of the business and experienced that, and have that ability to create that customer centric vision within an organization. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on how to do that effectively, how to think about that.
I would actually answer this question by considering, first of all, in a B2B environment that I've been mostly active in the last, I would say, 6 years. It depends on the nature of the portfolio that you're building. Not all successful businesses need a huge size portfolio. Some do, some don't, depending on what you're selling, the value proposition, etc. But if we take the vast majority of the B2B and a very basic segmentation of the customers, you have lots of small ones, a bunch of middle size ones, a certain number of large ones, or enterprise big ones. I would say that, and I'm approximating it in a very general way on purpose. First, sales need to be able to focus on opening up doors, understanding needs of these customers, selling the solution in a way that it matches the needs. If that solution is not a top of mind of the business, you need to actually uh, make the customer understand why what you are selling and for what you're asking money to be paid by the customer to you, why and how will this improve their business, improve their life, whether it's peace of mind or revenue generating, growth generating, etc. And then be able to negotiate properly. And I'm saying properly because it's not about tricking the customer. It's about that aspect of fair value that you're delivering and the return that you get into that. At the same time, as I mentioned earlier, focusing the future, developing these pipelines, working on the next and the next and the next. This aspect, from a sales perspective, is a very focused set of activities, and it's a very challenging area to produce results. In my opinion, especially in growing fintech has a lot of growing businesses, it's fundamental that a sales team focuses on actually bringing this new business um, on a regular basis so they can drive that kind of growth that investors are expecting. Now, you have then the customer success team that is actually responsible to onboard these customers, to bring actually their businesses, to make them comfortable working with you as a provider of a certain solution, to actually make them believe, not make them believe as fooling them, but make them believe as living and experiencing that what you promised them is actually real, and you have actually met your promises, and you have delivered what you promised you deliver, and they can see that. They can see that actually their operations, their revenues have improved, their peace of mind of their etc. But also carry them through what else may be available, because most fintechs don't sell one solution. There's opportunity to deepen and grow the relationship, and also be able to respond to when things may go wrong or when things may change and adapt and grow. And that's where all these beautiful KPIs exist there on how do you measure success, etc. Now, the two, it's very critical that when we talk about a customer-centric approach, we don't follow an approach where sales has a beginning and an end and it's clear and then hands over to customer success who has a beginning and an end, etc. But it's actually an end-to-end um, customer experience. How does the customer experience our company from the moment that it may be a salesperson, it may even be a marketing person in pre-sales, um, has that first contact down to the ongoing uh, relationship that they will have with perhaps customer servicing or the customer success or whoever. That end-to-end experience needs to be designed. Thankfully, we live in an era that there are the examples. Uh, we know how to do this, but it's the critical thing on how to put it into practice, how to make the teams internally be motivated and make it natural for them to collaborate. Simple example, you have a large merchant or an enterprise size one. You don't wait to get the contract signed to get the customer success in. Customer success starts working with the merchant way in advance. If I am a large company, very large company, I'm already having hesitation about signing up. And one day I work with Mary, and the next day I work with Mohammed, there's an issue because if I'm not taken properly through the journey, I will actually not
Yeah.
necessarily feel comfortable. And imagine if it's not me, but we're changing teams. So building this kind of clarity in who does what, but along a very clear customer journey from what is expected by the customers, that's what makes the difference.
No, I totally agree with that, and I think that full kind of revenue journey clarity that as a business, if you really have that, understand from initial contact with a potential customer, whether that's on the website and marketing funnel or what have you, top of funnel, all the way through sign, renewal, advocacy, and you understand that whole process and how the customer is interacting with you. That's when you start really getting into creating a customer-centric and focused organization.
And we are humans. We make mistakes. We try things. It doesn't mean they're always going to work out. I have so many examples that I have worked in where there is an onboarding team, and then the customer is taken from a salesperson, given to the onboarding team. The onboarding team takes as a job, gives it to customer success. In the meantime, the customer is already, their attention is gone. And if you need the attention
Yeah.
of multiple departments, that just has not created a relationship, as an example. So there are many
Yeah.
more out there. So yeah, that customer centric is easy to understand as a concept. It's difficult to apply in reality and follow it effectively.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. No, that's awesome stuff. Great, Mario. This has been such a great conversation so far, and what we'd like to do towards kind of the end of our conversation, I'm sure you've seen the podcast before, is we like to finish off with a lightning round. We will ask you some quick questions, get quick answers, to kind of wrap things up. So, Mario, if you're ready, I'd love to dig in. We really like this section. We get to ask some of our favorite questions here, the lightning round. So yeah, if you're ready, Mario, I'd love to jump in right there.
Absolutely. Ready.
Awesome, awesome. All right, perfect. So I'll start us off. I'll start us off with an easy one, which is, what's your kind of favorite content to consume right now? A favorite podcast or book or something like that?
So I'll give a very direct example. It's someone haven't met personally, but I've been following for quite a few years. Happens to be of Greek origin, but that's by a fluke. His name is Mr. Kriaris, Panayotis Kriaris. He comes up every second week or sometimes every week with very interesting insights on different parts of payments and software as a service. A very passionate man. If you don't follow him, definitely do so.
Oh,
Awesome, awesome, perfect. Great. And yeah, kind of answers my next question of any favorite people to follow, take inspiration from. And so let me ask you, so that is there anyone else that you'd like to kind of follow or that you would recommend that other people check out?
I like actually to read as much as possible, listen to as much as possible, filter as much as possible, and get inspired from different sources. So even though I do have a series of news sources and podcasts, I try to keep it as open and as global as possible because you don't know where you're going to get your next inspiration. So on purpose, very open.
I like that. That's great.
beautiful. All right, Mario. So I'll go next. So this is my favorite question. What is one life philosophy you like to live by?
One philosophy I like to live by. First of all, I would say respect to be respected. I have worked, as I mentioned, from startups to scale ups to actually big corporates. It's a mantra I have in life, from my personal life to my professional life in all of these environments, whether it is the people you work with or the people you just simply interact. Respect to be respected. You need to give to get. Don't expect things to just be served in you for you. And the second thing that is linked to this is strive and work. It's going to sound very like grandfatherly kind of thing or fatherly or whichever term you want to use. Uh, but strive for balance in life. You know, each person knows what is does balance in life mean. Don't leave it aside. Don't forget about it because if you remember it much later, you're just simply going to have missed a lot of time, and the people around you, chances are, they will have suffered like yourself.
Beautiful. Great life philosophies. Mario, and lastly, on the weekends, what do you like to do on the weekends to decompress? And if people are trying to connect with you, what is the best way to find you?
So I have two ways of decompressing. The first one is definitely my friends and my family, and this is important. I do want, and I actually do leave my part of life away, and I like interacting, connecting, and hearing what my friends are doing. Sometimes have a silly time, sometimes work together, live together life, and address the issues that come up. And given that I have lived in many different parts of the world, a lot of my friends are spread around the globe. So the second way that I decompress is, which may sound paradoxical, but not for me at all, is get on a plane and actually actively go and see a lot of them here in Dubai, a lot of them come to Dubai, so this is very convenient. But in general, try and be present in their lives, and try and have them present in my life, whether this is virtual or ideally at the frequency that one can afford, time-wise and money-wise, be present in their life as well.
You're a good friend, Mario. You're a good friend.
Excellent. Yeah, that's awesome. Perfect. So that gets us to the end of today's conversation, Mario. It's been such a delight and pleasure to have you on the podcast today. Thank you so much for sharing all your great experience and feedback. I think it's gonna really resonate with the audience, with the learnings and the different perspectives that you brought today. So thank you, Mario. It's been great having you on, and I really appreciate you, and hope to see you on again in the future.
Thank you very much for the exciting discussion.
Thank
Very
you,
much
Mario.
appreciated.
We want to thank our sponsors for supporting the Sussex Revenue Podcast. RevSetter is the #1 customer success and management platform in the Middle East region, offering global capabilities mixed with regional solutions that helps your CS, account management, and go-to-market teams 10x efficiency, improve customer experience, and turbocharge customer retention rates.
And thank you to Medlify, a leading marketplace for workers and employers in the healthcare space. Needs and demands meet to create benefits for both sides. Thank you again, and we'll see you next time.